Welcome to another St. Louis 7 following an OT with Oliver podcast. This one I had a ball with. Ron Jacober. It's been in your living room or in your car for the last 40 years. We'll touch base and ask the 7 questions in a second. But Ron, before we get started, I know you do a lot with the Knights of Columbus. Tell people what they should know.
Well, it's a very charitable organization, and I would encourage any Catholic man to get involved with this. I waited too long to join them, to tell you the truth, but they do some wonderful things. They, for instance, in our parish, they've certainly helped with the school. They've helped with some electronic things. They helped rebuild the playgrounds. We do charity work with families that need help. That it's not advertised, of course, and the fish fry every year is legendary at Christ Prince of Peace. It's been canceled this year, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But for instance, a friend of mine delivers sandwiches once a month to a food pantry in the city, and it's an experience to go to one of those places if you've never go there because of the need of people. And so be generous in terms of that. We took 53 loaves of sandwiches to that food pantry last week with some other stuff. So I would encourage, especially men my age or a little younger, if you've got free time, Knights of Columbus is a wonderful, wonderful way to spend some good fellowship. Plus, it's all about charity.
Good stuff, man. And again, if you want to listen to the episode, it's OT with Oliver, wherever you get your podcast. Here we go with St. Louis 7. First question, Ron. You did not go to high school in St. Louis. How long did it take before you figured out St. Louisans are kind of obsessed with where people go to high school?
Yeah, I still don't understand that. To tell you the truth, I still don't understand it. It's just a St. Louis thing, I guess. I never talked about where I went to high school, and I don't understand why people are so interested. If I ask you, where'd you go to high school? Why would I be interested in that? I don't know. I don't understand it. I'll be honest with you.
Why do you think the St. Louis Cardinals are so ingrained in St. Louis, unlike other franchises in other cities?
Because they've won a great deal. They're part of the fabric of this town. We've lost 2 football teams, football teams. We've lost an NBA team. A lot of soccer hasn't been all that successful. Hopefully it will be in the future with the MLS team. But for whatever reason, baseball has always been there. And I have a theory that most everybody swung a bat in their life, men and women. When they were a little kid, when they were growing up, they may not have been very good, but they swung a bat. How many people played hockey? How many of us have played football? I played some basketball. Unfortunately, I was a foot too short to be any good. But baseball, people can relate to it. You can understand the sport. And because they've been, over the years, pretty successful, they've been a very, very good franchise. That's why so many guys like to play here. I've heard that story many times. I love playing in St. Louis. Visiting players love to play in St. Louis because of the passion of the fans and just the way we act.
How did you handle the pressure on KMOX when you realized that millions of people were listening, not just in St. Louis?
You know what? I just thought I was talking to one person. That was my approach. At night we were in 42 states, and we'd get calls on Sports Open Line from Canada, from all over the East Coast. But it never bothered me that so many people were listening. I would just pretend, I guess, if you want to call it that I'm just talking to you, just talking to one person. I did the same thing on television. I talked to the camera. It was just as if it was one person. If you start thinking about how many people are listening, you're going to get pretty nervous and pretty upset, and you're not going to do a very good job.
You've seen a lot of great games. Do you happen to have a favorite?
Well, I think I have a lot of favorites. I remember calling Brett Hull's 500th goal. That was a thrill. My first game, doing a Cardinal game in Wrigley in Chicago, that was quite a thrill. I still remember it. I remember sitting down in the broadcast booth with the legendary Jack Buck. He's on my left over here. And I didn't say very much for the first 2 or 3 innings because I'm kind of intimidated by the fact that he's there. Middle of the 3rd or top of the 4th, he said, "You want to do some play-by-play, didn't you, kid?" I said, "Well, yes, sir." He said, "Do it." And he got up and left the booth. Left the booth for 2 or 3 innings. I left
Baptism by fire.
Yeah, let me there to do it because I think he understood that if I tried to do it with him sitting next to me, I'd be a lot more nervous. So I just did it. That was memorable doing that. And I did a lot of college basketball on ESPN. with the Metro Conference. Oscar Robertson was my color guy, and he one of the greatest players of all time. I recall doing a game, Florida State, I think Cincinnati, late in the game, and a Florida State, the game was really close. Florida State kid down in the corner at this end, threw the ball, length of the floor, went in, 97-foot shot. Everybody went crazy. And we also had a coach on those games that was an analyst, and he said, I didn't really like his shot selection, but he made it.
Well, and Oscar was from Cincinnati, so he enjoyed it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they tried to recreate it in practice next week. The kid didn't even come close. I don't know how that happened. It was a stunner. It was a stunner. But it was
great.
Ron,
you're from St. Louis. You encountered 10 stop signs driving. How many do you roll?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You're from St. Louis. You're driving around. You encounter 10 stop signs. How many do you roll?
I preach all the time to my wife. A stop sign is not a suggestion. Stop. Okay. Now I do roll through some, obviously very slowly, but I'm a trustee in our subdivision, and one of the problems we have is people just blow through stop signs all the time. Just drives me insane. I know there was nobody coming, but the sign says stop.
When people come and visit you, where do you take them?
To my man cave.
Nice. What's in the man cave?
Oh, well, you see some of the stuff here. This is all the stuff that won't fit in the man cave. It's like a museum. I didn't intentionally collect out of stuff, but I did, I guess, over the years doing all this stuff. And I've got a 61-inch television down there, by the way, that I watch games. I watched the Blues game on last night. It's like my refuge down there, but it's got all kinds of stuff. I probably have 20,000 baseball cards, because back in the 80s when I started collecting again, it was the thing to do. They're not worth any more now than where they end, I guess. But I've got some autographed baseballs, but not a lot. But I've got one autographed by Joe DiMaggio.
Nice.
That I treasure, and Brock and Gibson, and maybe have 10 autographed balls. That's all. But it was just special stuff. But I've got a pair of tennis shoes that Lou Brock had made for his teammates after he sold 118 bases one season. And I got to know Lou pretty well. He said, "You want a pair of these?" I said, "Well, yeah, Lou, that'd be great." Never
Were you
wore.
faster when you put them on?
No, I never wore them. Never wore. Still down there, and they're stiff as boards now. I mean, I recall going to a charity dinner one time, and we were at a dinner with Whitey Herzog, his wife, Lou and his wife, and Lois and I. And I knew Lou was going to be there, so I put those tennis shoes in a grocery bag. And in the middle of the meal, I set them on the table. His eyes got as big as saucers. "Oh my God, you still have those things?" They were pretty ugly. They were.
Do you have a Bracobello too?
No, I don't have a Bracobello. But I still have the tennis shoes. But a lot of stuff down there. Probably not too much of it is all that valuable. I got a Tony La Russa signed jersey. I've got a Whitey Herzog one. I've got a Lou Brock one. My favorite thing, I guess, is a big photo of Stan Musial with Stan Musial's the 1942 version of the Cardinal jersey. Let me put it that way. He autographed, and when I took it to have it framed, the woman said, "Don't you have a picture? This is a lot of white space here." Went home and I got a picture of me with Stan. In fact, it's on the wall back here. You probably wouldn't be able to see it. Hang on, right there. It's up here. In that frame, there's Brock, Musial, Willie Mays, and Henry Aaron, and all autographed with me interviewing them. And you can't see it very well.
I can see it. I can see it.
So
you have lived the life, my friend. All right. So as we get ready to wrap this up, again, if you like this, it's the St. Louis 7. There's like 80 of them on YouTube. Just hit subscribe so that you can see previous ones or ones coming. Ron, appreciated the time. The podcast was a blast. We talked about KMOX, KSD, a lot about the Olympics, a lot about your personal stories with Muhammad Ali and other things that if people don't know, they should catch. Here's how we finish up every episode. What makes you proud to be a St. Louisan?
I love the city. I really do. I'm saddened these days with what's going on in the city of St. Louis with the crime. And I think that unfortunately it's soured a lot of people around the country. a lot of businesses around the country. But I love the city. I could have left a number of times. I had offers in Chicago and Boston over the years in broadcasting, but for whatever reason, I love this city. I love the sports here, and I just hope we can get that cleaned up. The problem I have with that is this is a big metropolitan area, and we're all tainted with what's going on in the city. There's some terrific cities in St. Louis County, St. Charles County, Jefferson County, even Madison County in Illinois, but it's all St. Louis. And I've talked to people around the country. They said, "Aren't you worried about the crime in your neighborhood?" I said, "There's no crime in my neighborhood, but it's the perception becomes reality, unfortunately, and that's what's happened with the city and all the murders and all the crime. And like yesterday, a security guard at Metrolink station gets shot in the head and killed. I
Right.
mean, that makes headlines everywhere. That's what bothers me. But I still love the city. I don't want to leave.
All right, Ron.
When I say the city, I'm talking about the metropolitan
I
area.
understand. It is something that we need to be better at. And, that's what 2021 is all about, right? We're going to fix it ourselves.
Yeah, right. When's that going to happen?
That's a wrap, man. Stay good, stay healthy.
Thank you, David.